I versus me confusion. Students are often confused when using the words I or me that are both first-person pronouns, which are words that are used by a speaker who is speaking about himself or herself. I represents the subject, which means the person who performs the action in the sentence. The subject pronoun always comes before the verb in a sentence. Example, here we have our subject pronoun I and our verb went. I went to the park with Carl. Another example where we see the verb coming after the subject pronoun. Carl and I went to the park. Now, more helpful tips when using the subject pronoun I, and I like to consider these as the exceptions. These that you have to know, you have to remember. Our first tip, the subject pronoun follows the verb to be. That is the am, is, are, was, and were. And our second tip, it also follows the words as and than when comparing persons or things. So here we have our exceptions compared to where we have the subject pronouns always comes before the verb, and in this case that subject pronoun I, it comes after the verbs to be am, is, are, was, and were, and after the words as and an when comparing persons or things. Now here are some examples. The teacher said it was I. Mark is as smart as I. The winner seems to be I. And the children played better than I. So here we see examples of the exceptions, that verb to be coming before the subject pronoun I, and also those words as and than coming before the subject pronoun I. Now let's look at me. Me represents the object, which means the person who receives the action or to whom the action is done upon directly or indirectly in the sentence. The object pronoun always comes after the verb in a sentence. So here's an example. Example 1, Mommy gave, here's a verb, the plum to me, and we have our object pronoun. Our second example again, Mommy gave the plums to Carl and me. So let's go to more examples. Now let's remember the helpful tips to assist with the I versus me. I went to the office, and we have me went to the office. Here we have our subject pronoun I, then we have our verb went, and here we have our object pronoun me, and followed by the verb went. Now we know that our subject pronoun is followed by the verb, so we know that the sentence I went to the office is correct and not me went to the office. Object pronouns are followed, the object pronouns come after the verb. Now let's go to some more examples. She can jump as high as I. Or would it be she can jump as high as me? So here we have our verbs. We have jump, and also look at that word as. That as before subject pronoun I and as before the subject pronoun me. object pronoun me, sorry. So we know our sentence that as before the I, so we know that that is our correct sentence. She can jump as high as I, and not she can jump as high as me. Although we have that verb before the object pronoun, but that as tell us that we have to use our subject pronoun I. Janet threw the ball to I. Janet threw the ball to me. Remembering what we just learned, here we have our verbs and threw, and we know our sentence. Janet threw the ball to I would be incorrect, but here we have our verb before our subject pronoun. So our answer would be Janet threw the ball to me, which me, receiving the action, me the object. So here we and where we have our verb before our object pronoun. So answer is Janet threw the ball to me. More examples again. Now here's a trick that can help you again in the I versus me confusion. Now let's look at these sentences and let's see the trick that I'm telling you about. Now Amani and I went to the office. And here we have Amani and me went to the office. So let's see what the trick is to determine which sentence is correct. Now I like using strip of paper and you're blocking out the name of the person and that word and that accompanies the I. So I blocked off Amani and the word and in the first sentence. I'm going to do the same with the second sentence. Now I'm going to read with my subject pronoun and object pronoun starting my sentences. So here I have I went to the office and me went to the office. From that trick and looking at where my verbs are, I know my sentence Amani and I went to the office is the correct sentence and not Amani and me went to the sentence. To the office, sorry. So we're going to try that trick again using these two sentences. Daddy bought a ball for Amani and I. Daddy bought a ball for Amani and me. So let's cover Amani and in both sentences. And let's read. Daddy bought a ball for I. Daddy bought a ball for me. So here we have our verbs at bought and bought here before the subject pronoun I and bought before the object pronoun me. And we know once the verb before the object pronoun, we know our sentence Daddy bought a ball for Amani and me. Remember when we blocked out we saw Daddy bought a ball for me, which would be correct. And when we put back the and Amani, Daddy bought a ball for Amani and me, also correct. And the sentence Daddy bought a ball for Amani and I would be incorrect. So let's go to quick or practice exercise, I versus me. And we're going to choose the correct pronoun from the brackets to complete each sentence. So we're going to read our sentences first, then determine our answers. So we have Marlon and I or me are going to the mall. So try to remember what we just learned. They did not invite my sister and, would it be I or me? And number 3, Max and I or me was sent to the office. Now get your answers. Now I'm going back to number 1. Let's put in our answer. Would it be Marlon and I or Marlon and me? Marlon and I are going to the mall. So using the trick and the rules. So we got Marlon and I. Sentence number 2. They did not invite my sister and me. So if you had blocked out my sister, they did not invite me. And Max and I, or me, Max and I went to the office. So you had blocked out Max and you would have I went to the office. So let's go with our other sentences. She can play as well as, is it I or me? Can you bring I or me the newspaper? And number 6, he dreamt that it was, is it I or me? So let's go with our first answer. She can play as well as I, that as. So you have your subject pronoun I. Can you bring, is it I or me? Can you bring me the newspaper? Number 6, he dreamt that it was I. So great job.